Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, Raila today made some remarks towards the US ambassador, Meg Whitman, and it's causing a brouhaha around the around the nation, Kenya at least. So here's what he said. Then I'll come back and tell you what I think of what he said. Okay, here.
You want to tell a rogue ambassador, leave Kenyans alone. If Mandamano can lead to a dialogue between Ichungwa and Kalonzo, everything is good with Mandamano. Tell the rogue ambassador, Kenya is not United States. Kenya is not a colony of the United States. Keep your mouth shut when you hear. Otherwise, you will call for your recall back to your country. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right. So everyone is saying, oh my goodness, Raila is, he's showing US that Kenya is not a colony, that Megan Whitman should shut up, and people are applauding, and the Azimio folks are like, yes, since there's, in Africa right now, there's anti-Western sentiments, since the Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali, what's going on there, the coup that's happening. So everyone is like, yeah, Raila is, fighting the West. He's telling them how it is. Kenya is not a colony. And some people on the Kenya Kwanza side are looking at it like, oh, Raila is cutting his diplomatic ties. It's not a good move. The Mzee has no options. But here's my take, okay? And I want you to listen carefully. This is a game. This is a game by Raila Odinga. Remember, this guy 2-3 days ago met that guy, what is his name? Chris Coons, the American senator from US, from Wisconsin, okay? With his buddy, the same guy who actually negotiated the handshake, apparently, between Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta, okay? Few days ago, he met him, and they were comparing notes, so to speak, all right? So today, a few days later, he's saying what he said to Megan. Remember, yesterday, Megan made those comments that the 2022 elections were fair and square. The observer looked at everything, and the matter went to Supreme Court, and, it was a fair election. There's nothing really wrong with what she said. There's nothing offensive per se what she said. But I'll tell you why Raila said what he said, okay? Again, I keep on telling you this. The West, through Raila he's trying to fool you, but you're not paying attention to what they're doing, okay? Raila is trying to create this difference between him and the government, because I told you, he is a controlled opposition. So for him to maintain his position as the guy who's the main guy in the opposition, he has to do everything to disassociate himself from the government or anybody who supports the government, okay? Because what Meg Whitman said wasn't offensive, as I said, okay? But Raila wants to create, okay? Let these guys not fool you. This was scripted. They agreed upon this. He's doing that purposefully, deliberately, to give the gullible people who are watching this to think that Raila is anti-US. Raila is not supporting what US is doing. Okay, the endorsement that Whitman actually, to be fair, Meg Whitman did not endorse Ruto, but he just stated the obvious, what happened, okay? But, like I said, Raila deliberately attacked her to create this illusion, to fool the gullible, to think that he's actually anti-American, he's anti-Ruto, to paint Ruto as a Western puppet, as somebody who's been controlled by the US. But in reality, Raila Odinga is part of this US puppet gang, okay? Because remember, the first person before he started Mandamano that he went to visit was the British High Commissioner at that time, the lady that just left, I forgot her name, okay? The second person that Raila met, went to the embassy, he went to the met Meg Whitman. She met two people, the US ambassador, Meg Whitman at that time. Then she met Raila went and met the British High Commissioner at the time. I forgot her name, that lady that went to India. I think she's now the British High Commissioner in Pakistan or India, okay? But those were the first two people that he met before he started his Mandamano shenanigans, okay? So he's trying to fool you. And again, as I mentioned, he just met Chris Coons, the senator from Wisconsin, the guy who's known, he's a CIA guy, okay? That's Raila's handler, okay? But again, I'll finish before I don't want to sound repetitive. Raila made these comments to fool most people, the gullible, people who are not seeing through this, to make you think that he's anti-American, anti-West, since the majority of people now know that Ruto is taking orders from the IMF. IMF is basically pro-US, is the instrument that US use to control nations. So Ruto is being viewed by most Kenyans as an American puppet. So Raila Odinga is saying these things to try to to distance himself from that, to be seen as anti-American, like he's not being controlled by the Americans. But the reality is, Raila Odinga is an asset of the US. He's a puppet. He's trying to pretend that he's anti-American, but he's not. Look carefully. Ask yourself, why did he meet that Mr. Chris Coons, the senator from Wisconsin, okay? The guy who has been in Kenya for a long time, has a lot of ties in Kenya, okay? And with the CIA, okay? And the first person that Raila met before he started the Mandamanos was the British High Commissioner and the American ambassador, who is now telling he might recall, Whitman. And he talked about recalling the ambassador. Raila has no powers to recall anybody. He's not a president, okay? So those were just, it was just inflammatory statements made by Raila Odinga to fool the gullible, for people to say, oh, look at that, oh my God, Raila is anti-American. He's not like Ruto. Ruto is an American puppet. But no, the truth is, this is just a game. He probably called Meg Whitman before he made those statements. He probably told Chris Coons about this before he made those statements. So no, it's a game, it's a ploy. We are not fooled. But I know the majority of people think, oh my God, Raila is mad, so he has to say something against whatever. So that's my take on that. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, like, share, and tell me what you think. Because for me, Raila is not cheating me. Raila cannot fool me. He's playing that game to try to seem like he's anti-America, he's anti-being a puppet. But reality is, if you look at the history, if you follow closely, his relationship with America goes deep. He's been a CIA asset for a long, long time, because he wants to maintain the position of the de facto, I mean, not the de facto, but he wants to maintain that position as the main guy, as the opposition, okay? The alternative to what Ruto is. But in reality, Raila is made the main opposition guy in order to let the government do whatever they carry out the agenda of the West, okay? To carry out the agenda of the West without being opposed, okay? Because Raila acts like he opposes everything the government does, but in reality, he does not, okay? He's actually part of it. The reason being, Raila being the main opposition, it kind of deters anyone that rises to actually oppose these members of political class, okay? These elites, Kenyan elites. Anyone who comes up cannot come up. They put it in such a way that Raila is the alternative. He's the opposition. No one can be the opposition, just Raila. So he has to play that part. And for him to maintain that position, he has to say these things to create a confusion, to create this illusion, to fool people that he's actually anti-government, anti-West, anti-American. Anyway, subscribe, share, like, comment, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace and blessings.